Hello guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my YouTube channel. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, today we'll be looking at question number 6 of one of the previous exam papers. I think this was let me see, 2030, I think February or March 2013, somewhere there. But otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, what matters the most is for us to go through these questions in order to familiarize ourselves with the manner in which questions are asked, and most importantly, how we answer questions related to the functions. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've actually noticed that my battery is a bit low, so we'll just anyway continue with this lesson and we'll see where we end. In case if we don't answer all the questions, I'll make sure that if necessary, I'll just write the answers, and then at a later stage or sometime during the week, I'll try to do a video where I explain the part which I didn't cover in this lesson. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there's a hand-drawn diagram over there, and we're given a statement. So what I'm going to do is to quickly read through the statement, and as usual, we analyze the given graph. As soon as we're done, we go through the questions, and from there, most importantly, we have to see exactly where we score marks, okay, as usual. So most of you already know how my lessons are done. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll just quickly read through the statement, and remember, this question, it should be posted on my Telegram channel. So if you've got a Telegram account, you can just quickly search for Solving Exam Papers. Then you should be able to find this question paper. But if you are able to read on the screen of my tablet, and again, if you can clearly hear when I talk, then you can just make use of the information that I provide in this lesson. So, ladies and gentlemen, the statement reads as follows: S, which is 1 and 18, is the turning point of the graph of f of x, which is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so P and T are the x-intercepts of f. The graph of g of x, which is equals to negative 2x plus 8, has an x-intercept at t. R, it's a point of intersection of f and g. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what I've done, it was just to read through the given statement. Okay, as I always say, ladies and gentlemen, the diagram is actually a representative of what we're given in the statement. So in most cases, you'll find that you're given a statement accompanied by a graph, only to find out that whatever that is presented on the diagram can still be interpreted in a similar way, even if you are not given the statement. Okay, so what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is just to quickly go or take you through the diagram. So let's just quickly draw a set of axes. So you've got y-axis, you've got x-axis. So, ladies and gentlemen, something that I want you to notice, graphs of functions are drawn on a set of axes. Okay, so you've got the x and the y-axis. So in high school, you only represent your functions on the x and the y-axis. So it's more like it's a 2D drawing. Okay, so when you get to tertiary level, or when you get to universities, college, or wherever, that's where you'll have three axes, being the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. Okay, so just bear in mind that at this stage you're only focusing on two axes, namely x and y. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, you should be able to identify and distinguish your axis versus the functions. Okay, so that's why I used different marking pens over there, so that you are able to then have a better understanding in terms of what is the function, what are the axes. Okay, so that means based on what I drew over there, it means you've got your two set of axes, which is the x and the y axis. Then on this set of axes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to draw the graph. Okay, so this is a parabola. Obviously we can see it's a parabola because of its shape. Okay, and the general formula for a parabola we know. Let me not specifically say f or specify, and just write the general formula to say it's y ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to quickly talk about a, ladies and gentlemen, just in case if you haven't watched some of my previous lessons where I went deep in explaining this type of general formulas. So ladies and gentlemen, our a tells us more about the shape of our parabola. Okay, so in case if we've got a positive value of a, okay, because it's a positive value, then it means our graph should be smiling. Okay, how do we represent that smiling graph? So because a is positive, ladies and gentlemen, that means our a should take that shape. Okay, it could be positive 1 over 2, it could be a positive 2. Remember, it's x squared and everything, and it's x squared and everything. It could be 7 x squared and whatever. For the fact that the a value is positive, then it means we've got a smiling shape. Okay, guys, what if our a is negative? Okay, so that means for a negative a, ladies and gentlemen, we obviously have a negative shape. Okay, because they just told you the negative news, then your face becomes sad. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means if you've got negative let's say 7x squared and everything, remember that everything is that portion plus bx plus c. Okay, it could be minus, it could be minus, whatever that it is. What matters the most for now is that we are focusing on that a value over there. Okay, so if you've got negative 4x squared and whatever, if you've got negative, let's say 0.5x squared whatever, negative 4 over 3x squared whatever, ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to notice in this case is that for a negative a, you've got this type of a shape. So what does it mean when we use this information on that hand-drawn graph, ladies and gentlemen? Is our a negative or positive? Guys, based on what I've just indicated to you, that means the a value for this function should be negative. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Can I now make use of this opportunity to talk about the value of c, of which I assume the value of c, you know it very well, ladies and gentlemen. You know it very well. So let's say, for example, this is the graph of f. Okay, so obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is the origin. So okay, let me just say y is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, with regards to the value of c in terms of the positive or negative, I just want to quickly indicate to you that the value of c refers to where the parabola touches the y-axis. I'm not sure if I've explained it in the simplest way such that you understand, ladies and gentlemen. But what I'm saying is the value of C tells us more about where the parabola, which could be in that shape or that shape, touches the y-axis. Okay, so obviously, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to know in terms of the signs, you need to know if this parabola cuts or touches the y-axis on the positive side or on the negative side of the axis. Remember, the x-axis separates the positive and the negative side. Okay, obviously on this side you might have -1, -2, negative whatever. On this side it's obviously positive values, isn't it? So that means that point over there, it should be a positive C value. Okay, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, because they just said that turning point over there, which is called S. So that means from time to time on the questions or on the statement, the moment they talk about S, that means they are talking about the turning points. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we know the coordinates start with the X followed by the Y. So that means X is 1 and then Y is 18. Where is that 1, ladies and gentlemen? So that means if you draw a straight line that cuts the x-axis, so that means this is that 1. Okay, what about that 18, ladies and gentlemen? That 18 represent the y value along that point over there. So that means it's positive 18, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so that means this point over there, okay, it's a number which must be below 18. I'm not sure if you understand, ladies and gentlemen. It's a number which must be below 18. Why? Because the maximum point is 18. Okay, so we are not sure whether it's 17, 16, 14 or whatever, but what we know is that it's a positive number. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so that means if we had to just guess in terms of how the equation of that formula should be, the equation of that graph should be, we know obviously it should be y, which is equals to, it must be a negative a because of a Z shape, x squared plus bx. Then we know c, it should be a positive value. So ladies and gentlemen, why am I telling you this information? Is because if there's a question that wants you to determine the equation of that parabola, ladies and gentlemen, you must have your a value being negative. You must have your c value being positive. If you proceed with your calculations and you get a positive a as part of your answer, then you know somewhere, somehow you made a mistake, which means you need to go back and rectify that particular mistake. So ladies and gentlemen, I assume you find the value in this information that I've provided so far. Okay, so because it's not at all times where we are going to have a parabola in a form of a Z shape. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So what I would actually encourage you to do is to try and look for other functions where you've got a Z shape. Okay, so for now, let's try to quickly explore in case if we've got a parabola in that shape. Okay, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we know it should be y, it's equals to a positive a and everything else. Okay, why? Because we've got a smiling shape. Okay, so one thing for sure, ladies and gentlemen, our c value over there, okay, our c value, guys, it should be a positive c. Why? Because this graph, let's say, is the graph of D. Okay, so that graph of D, it touches the y-axis on the positive side of this y-axis. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just draw again maybe a graph and say maybe we've got this graph? Okay, let's say we've got that graph, which is the graph of h. As an example, ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean? So guys, in terms of the a, it should be a negative a and anything else. Okay, so the y value, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, it cuts or it touches the y-axis on the negative side of that y-axis. So that means the c should be a negative c. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that c could be -1, could be -2, whatever that it is. What matters the most is that if a question comes and says find the equation of that graph of h, you know your a should be a negative value, your c should be a negative value. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Similarly, if you had a graph similar to that one, I think it's almost this graph and that one, it's almost the same graph. Okay, so maybe let me just draw it this way. Before let's say it's the graph of m. Remember guys, I'm just using this letters as an example. So before I explain that graph of m, ladies and gentlemen, remember that point over there, it can possibly be the point of the turning point and again be what is it, the c value. Okay, so in short, it can serve as a turning point and again it can serve as the y the c value where that graph of h cuts the y-axis. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all dependent on how the graph is drawn. Okay, you just need to be able to interpret it such that it makes sense. Okay, so coming to the graph of m, ladies and gentlemen, so obviously it's a set shape. That means it should be y is equals to negative a value. In terms of the c value over there, we can see it's on the positive side of that y-axis. Then you can have your bx. Obviously it has to be a positive c value. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you are happy with this information, but otherwise, if you are, as an indication, please do make sure to like this video. In that way, I'm able to notice that this information, it helps ladies and gentlemen. So guys, can I just for few minutes explain something with regards to a straight line? Okay, I won't waste much of our time on this one because I've just indicated that I'm running out of battery, but I hope we can cover as many information as possible. But what I'm explaining to you now, ladies and gentlemen, is way more important than me answering upcoming questions, because you need to understand this information so that you can tackle any question related to a straight line and again combined with a parabola. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you have got a straight line in that direction, ladies and gentlemen, in that direction, what I want you to notice is that m is positive. What is m, guys? M is the gradient. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means for any equation which is drawn in that direction, ladies and gentlemen, the gradient is positive. Okay, what about a negative gradient? So that means you're going to have a straight line in that direction. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very much important, ladies. So that means for a graph in that direction, it's negative. Okay, please do make sure that you are aware of this type of information, ladies and gentlemen, because in case if you're requested to give an equation of a straight line, you already know that your gradient should either be positive or negative. Okay, so guys, in terms of the C value, the same thing applies. It's a matter of you telling us, if the straight line cuts or touches the y-axis on the positive or on the negative side of that axis. Remember guys, the x-axis separates the positive and the negative. The y-axis separates the positive and the negative side of the x-axis. Very, very much important, ladies. Very, very much important that you understand what I'm trying to explain to you guys. But I hope you fully understand, because most of you understand my teaching style at this stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I just start attending to these questions before we run out of battery? Can I just quickly try to answer these questions? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just quickly go through the questions. Just that I'm not really sure if there's something that I've missed, but quick, ladies and gentlemen, that point R over there obviously is the point of intersection between these two graphs. Okay, and again, T, it's the point of intersection between these two graphs. And again, ladies and gentlemen, at point T, that's where both of these graphs intercept with the x-axis. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Please do try to understand what I'm trying to say. This graph, it touches the x-axis at point T and again at point P. This straight line graph, it touches the x-axis at T and again at that point. Okay, so please do make notice of something, ladies and gentlemen, because they didn't refer to that point where that straight line touches the y-axis. That means there are high chances that you won't be asked questions related to that point over there and again that point over there. So that means most of the questions will be based on that point R, which is the point of intersection, and again that point P and that point T. Okay, obviously this is the origin, ladies and gentlemen. And most importantly, guys, you should be able to notice that there's a graph of F and G. You should know that the graph of F is for the parabola, the graph of G is for the straight line. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. And again, guys, if you draw, I'm not sure if I should draw over there, but let me just draw it anyway, ladies and gentlemen, because you will obviously remember that I've actually drawn this dotted line. This line over there, which is a line, I think it's known as axis of symmetry. It's a line that cuts that graph into half. Okay, so that means that point T and that point over there, it's halfway, it's along that axis of symmetry. Okay, so now that we know that axis of symmetry, we can just represent it to say this is where x is equals to 1. Okay, I hope you understand this. So that means that point over there is where x is equals to 1, which means from that point to T, it's equal. From that point to T, it's equal. From that point to P, it's equals to from that point to T. Okay, even though because I've drawn this diagram by hand, it doesn't look equal, but what we know is that the axis of symmetry cuts the parabola into two equal halves. Okay, so guys, I think I've covered most of the information that you need to know. Okay, so for now, let me just quickly go through the questions. Okay, so let me just get that question, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not really sure of what happened. Okay, there we go. So Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can now start with our very first question. So the first question says, calculate the coordinates of t. And this question is allocated 2 marks. Okay, so guys, let's not waste any much of our time. This question is 6.1 and they want you to calculate the coordinates of t. Okay, very, very much important, ladies. So guys, at all times, especially when they want you to calculate the coordinates, okay, so you need to ask yourself, between these two graphs, which graph touches that point t? Okay, so in this case, you notice that both of these graphs touches that point. Okay, that's one thing for sure. Okay, obviously, because that point, it's a point which is on one of the axes. In this case, it's on the x-axis. Let's just straight away write the information that we know about that point t, ladies and gentlemen. We know at that point the x value is unknown, but obviously the y value is 0. Okay, I assume we all know and agree that at that point t, that's where the x value is unknown and the y value is at 0. Same as at point p, we know the y value is 0, but the x value is unknown. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the next question that you should ask yourself, okay, between these two graphs, which graph can you use, or which formula of the graph can you use to determine that point? Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, your choice will be based on the information that you're given. You'll obviously choose the formula that has all the values. Okay, so you can see f of x is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. You cannot use this formula, ladies and gentlemen, because you still don't know the value of a, the value of b, and the value of c. Okay, so it's much easier when you use the graph of g. Guys, can we actually use the graph of g? This is a question, and an answer to this question is definitely yes. Why? Because that graph of g, it also touches that point t. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just write an equation of that graph. So they're saying it's g of x, which is equals to negative 2x plus 8. Okay, guys, I want us to quickly notice something. Can we just quickly discuss this? Based on my initial explanation, ladies and gentlemen, that point over there, it's a positive 8. We do agree, okay? And as you can see, the gradient is negative 2. It's a negative gradient, okay? So what I wanted us to discuss, ladies and gentlemen, is that point over there, it's obviously between 8 and 18, okay? So this is just for additional information, just in case if you had a similar question and they wanted you to calculate the y-intercept of the graph of f. Okay, so that means when you do your calculations, you must get a positive number, which is between obviously 18 and 8. So in case if you do your calculations and you get a negative number, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you tell yourself that you've made a mistake and you will try to rectify that mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's very much important that I say it's very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, because what I'm about to say, guys, it's massively important. Guys, there's a value in every mistake. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Please do make sure that, especially when you practice, you make as many mistakes as possible, so that when you repeat those similar mistakes in exam room, you'll be able to recover from those mistakes. It's not nice to make the first mistake in the exam, because that's when you start to panic. you spend a lot of time on that particular mistake, and you realize that you might be wasting much of your time on the question, then you skip the question, you move on, and then at a later stage you try to go back to that question, you forgot what was your approach, so please do make sure that you give yourself enough time to make those mistakes. Okay, that's why I'm saying at all times I wish I can make these mistakes during this lesson, so that you are able to notice how I recover from those mistakes. Okay, so I think going forward, somewhere I'll just do those mistakes on purpose and rectify those mistakes, so that you are aware of mistakes associated to certain questions. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, in short, it's best to make as many mistakes as possible, correct those mistakes, so that in case if you do them in exam, you know how to recover from those mistakes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope we both agree that we should use this formula to determine the coordinates of t, which is what the question wants us to calculate. And again, this question is allocated 2 marks, meaning it shouldn't be a complicated question, it should be a straightforward question. So we know that g of x is equals to negative 2x plus 8. Okay, so obviously, ladies and gentlemen, we know the y value, it's 0. Okay, obviously g of x, it's actually y, which is equals